While overall traffic deaths are down in the United States and Texas, driving while intoxicated is still a major cause of fatal accidents. The slogan, "If you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink," has been around for a number of years and would eliminate alcohol-related traffic deaths if it was applied by all persons. Unfortunately, too many drivers still feel they can safely operate a vehicle after a few drinks. Is this true? Can drivers perform as well at low and moderate blood alcohol concentrations as they can in a completely sober condition? To determine how alcohol really affects drivers, an experiment was carried out by the Texas A&M University Safety Education Program. The study involved selecting a cross-section of drivers, training them to handle a set of driving maneuvers, and then having them perform the same maneuvers at varying blood alcohol concentrations. A portion of the subjects who volunteered were assigned to a control group and drank no alcohol. This enabled the researchers to have a group with which the drinking drivers could be compared. All volunteers were tested on standard roadside sobriety tests, psychomotor abilities, including vision and reaction time, and actual ability to operate a motor vehicle. Participants were asked why they volunteered.
I wanted to see how alcohol affected my driving skills.
I want to find out what it's like to be at .10. I mean, that blood alcohol level there, to see. You know, I drink just to see what it's like. I never know when I'm there.
It was a convenient time for me, and I'm interested in studies, and it sounded like fun.
Instructors from the Safety Education Driver Skill Enhancement Program designed 6 different maneuvers for all volunteers to perform. These involved use of visual skills, judgment, reaction time, and handling a vehicle under emergency conditions, such as a skid or a sudden stop by a vehicle ahead. All participants were given comprehensive training in the maneuvers involved. While speed was not stressed, they were instructed to complete each maneuver in the minimum time in which it could be safely performed. Some participants initially had trouble with several of the maneuvers, especially with the accident simulator and the skid pad. The accident simulator exercise required the driver to make a quick decision in response to a triggered traffic light change and maneuver his or her vehicle into the correct lane. This was done at a designated speed of 30 miles per hour. The skid pad exercise involved the instructor locking the brakes and causing a skid to occur, and then having the driver seek to recover from the skid. As with the accident simulator, all volunteers learned to handle skids correctly after training.
Basically, we're going to time you from the tall poles that you see there to the end of the tall poles on the other side. We'll have you come in, move over to the right, use your right signal, pull past the exercise, and back into, like you'd be backing into your driveway. When you stop the car and turn and back it in there, we want to get you about a foot away from that cone in the back. Now, if you keep your eyes pointed in that center cone in the back, that'll get you a good target to steer into.
After a number of hours of training, all volunteers reached an acceptable skill level on all maneuvers. The second day of the experiment began by testing all participants in a sober condition on the various maneuvers. Scores for each driver were recorded for comparison with test runs made after alcohol was consumed. The basis for the scores involved the number of cones or barrels struck, time to complete each exercise, and judgment errors. After all participants had completed their sober test runs, the persons in the experimental group began to drink alcoholic beverages of their choice. Each person drank at his or her own pace. When the researchers estimated that a volunteer had achieved a blood alcohol concentration of approximately .03, blood and breath tests were performed by licensed Texas Department of Public Safety chemists and medical technicians. Both blood and breath analysis was done to find out if results would be the same from both methods of testing, Although the differences were slight, blood test results were consistently higher than breath test results. After reaching an average blood alcohol concentration of 0.03, the experimental group was then asked to repeat all the tests they had done while sober. The drivers from the control or non-drinking group were also retested. Various drivers were asked how they would perform on the test.
Next time on the driving, probably a little bit better. I feel a little bit more relaxed, so I think I'll probably do better.
Kirsten rhymes with beer. Kier rhymes with beer. Well, you know, honestly, I'd probably drive me home, but I wouldn't drive my 3-year-old home with me.
Terrible.
Richard is great. Probably, I don't know. I have no idea.
Even at 0.03 BAC, which is less than 1/3 the legal limit in Texas, drivers had difficulty performing the same exercises they did successfully sober. Most persons arrested for DWI in Texas or who are killed in DWI accidents have BACs much above 0.03. For example, the average BAC at arrest is 0.16, and the average BAC of a driver who dies in an alcohol-related crash is 0.18. Because of this, the volunteers were asked to consume additional alcohol so the tests could be run when they had reached higher BAC levels. This was done, and the BAC and driving tests were repeated. The test runs at the higher BAC levels showed a significant decline in the performance compared to those of low BAC levels, although losses of ability had been found at the 0.03 level. As might be expected, those maneuvers involving the most judgment were not only the most difficult to perform while sober, the skid pad, 2-point turn, and accident simulator, but were also the most affected as BAC levels rose. While most drivers reacted quickly to the emergency situations, they could not perform the maneuver successfully. Thus, while their reactions were minimally affected, their judgment and handling skills were greatly impaired as compared to sober trials. Most drivers did not follow instructions as to the speed at which they should perform the situations. An increase in speed made these difficult situations even harder. It should be noted that the highest BAC reached by any experimental group subject was 0.13, and most persons did not exceed a 0.11 level. However, the errors they made while driving this course, a course they had driven successfully sober, would make them very dangerous on Texas roads. The results of this study demonstrated that at even low BACs, drivers have a difficult time handling all driving situations, but especially those which require quick decisions. The experimental group scores declined an average of 9% at 0.03 BAC, 15% at 0.07, and 26% at 0.11 BAC, while the control group's ability was unchanged. Although not all drinking drivers' abilities decline equally, all performed worse than they did in a sober condition. Fortunately, no one was hurt due to the mistakes of these drivers who drove after drinking. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for drinking drivers who make similar errors on the streets and highways of Texas.